My fiance's mother looked me dead in the eye and gave me an ultimatum: call off the wedding, or I will dedicate my life to making yours a living hell. She expected me to argue, to plead, to fight for her daughter. She never imagined I would break into a wide grin, look right back at her, and say, "Consider it done." This is the story of how I took our entire wedding fund, booked a solo trip to paradise, and watched from halfway across the world as her scheme to ruin me imploded, taking her own daughter down with it. The perfect life I thought I was building came crashing down on a Tuesday. It was just after 8 in the evening, with the city lights beginning to blur through my apartment window and a comfortable silence settling in. Chloe, my fiancée of 1 year and partner of 4, was at her weekly book club, leaving me to a quiet evening of my own. We were just 3 weeks away from the wedding, a milestone that felt like the culmination of everything we had worked for. At 29, I was ready. I was marrying the woman I loved, a 27-year-old whirlwind of creativity and passion who had, I thought, chosen me as unequivocally as I had chosen her. The plans were set, the deposits were paid, and the future seemed like a well-paved road stretching out before us. But some roads have potholes the size of a mother-in-law, and mine was about to swallow me whole. A sharp, insistent rap on the door broke the evening's peace. It wasn't Chloe. She had her own key and a softer touch. My brow furrowed as I opened the door to find Diane, Chloe's mother, standing on my welcome mat like a storm cloud in a Chanel coat. Her expression was stripped of all pretense, her lips a thin, unforgiving line. "We need to talk," she announced, not as a request, but as a decree. Before I could even formulate a reply, she pushed past me, her expensive perfume filling my living room with the scent of impending doom. She surveyed my space with a dismissive glance, as if my carefully chosen furniture and framed prints were personally offensive to her. This wasn't a social call. This was an invasion. I closed the door slowly, a cold knot tightening in my stomach. Diane had always been particular. She maintained a veneer of civility, but underneath it, I'd always sensed a current of disapproval. My $60,000 a year salary, my job as an office drone, as she'd once so charmingly put it, was a constant source of unspoken disappointment for a woman who measured a man's worth in stock portfolios and country club memberships. "Okay," she began, turning to face me, her arms crossed like a general about to declare war. "Let's cut the charade. You're not marrying my daughter." The words hung in the air, sharp and absolute. She paused, letting their weight sink in. "Call off the wedding, or I will make your life hell." For a moment, I was so stunned that a laugh escaped me, a short, incredulous bark of disbelief. "Excuse me?" I asked, convinced I must have misheard. Her eyes narrowed, twin slits of cold fury. "You heard me. Chloe deserves better. She deserves more than a man who will have her counting pennies for the rest of her life." She took a step closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial, venomous whisper. "Her ex, Jerome, just made partner at his law firm. He's been asking about her, you know. He's ready to provide the life she was born for." Jerome, the man who had famously cheated on Chloe with not one, not two, but 3 different women, an infidelity so blatant it had become something of a legend in their social circle. The memory of Chloe's tear-streaked face when she confessed it all to me years ago flashed in my mind. The Jerome who treated her like garbage? I countered, my voice hardening. "The serial cheater?" Diane waved a dismissive hand, as if such details were trivial. "He's changed. He's matured. And more importantly," she said, leaning in for the kill, "he makes $400,000 a year. That's the kind of security my daughter needs." I sank onto my couch, a strange sense of detached fascination washing over me. This was beyond meddling. This was a corporate-style, hostile takeover of her daughter's life. "And what does Chloe think about this grand plan of yours?" I asked, genuinely curious. "Does she even know you're here?" Diane's smirk was chilling. "Chloe is a sentimental girl. She thinks she's in love. But she'll thank me later. She always comes around to my way of thinking, eventually." It was the casual, confident way she said it that sent a shiver down my spine. The complete certainty that her daughter's was merely an extension of her own. "So here's how this is going to play out," she continued, now pacing in front of my coffee table. "You're going to call Chloe and tell her you've had a change of heart. That you got cold feet. Make it believable. Cry if you have to. You'll be the bad guy. And I'll be there to help her pick up the pieces and steer her back to Jerome." And then came the threat, the ace she thought she had up her sleeve. "In return for your cooperation, I won't feel the need to tell everyone about that messy little DUI you got in college." My blood ran cold. It was a stupid, one-time mistake from a decade ago, a footnote in my life that I had long since put behind me. "What DUI?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, though I knew exactly what she was talking about. Her smile widened, predatory and triumphant. "The one I'll make sure magically appears on every background check you ever have from now on. The one that will follow you, tarnish your name, and make your professional life a nightmare if you don't do exactly as I say." That was it. That was the moment everything clarified. The shock and disbelief evaporated, replaced by a sudden, ice-cold clarity. She wasn't just a meddling mother. She was a blackmailer. She was threatening to destroy my reputation, my career, my future, all to orchestrate a more financially advantageous match for her daughter. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't fighting for a future with Chloe anymore. I was fighting for my own survival. A slow smile spread across my face, an expression so genuine it seemed to startle her. I leaned back into the sofa cushions and looked her straight in the eye. "Consider it done," I said, my voice calm and even. Her eyes, which had been alight with the fire of battle, flickered with confusion, then suspicion. "Really?" she asked, thrown off balance by my immediate capitulation. "Just like that. Just like that," I confirmed, standing up and walking her toward the door. "The wedding's off. You win. Congratulations." She actually seemed disappointed. The fight had gone out of her, leaving behind a strange sense of anticlimax. She had come prepared for a siege, but had found the castle gates wide open. She left my apartment not with a bang, but with a bewildered whimper. The second the door clicked shut behind her, I went into action. My first call was to my older brother, a lawyer whose calm, methodical mind was exactly what I needed. I recounted the entire conversation, every threat, every word. His silence on the other end of the line was heavy, followed by a low whistle. "She literally threatened to fabricate a criminal record to extort you," he said, the disbelief clear in his voice. "Document everything." Now, my next calls were to the wedding vendors. And here's the beautiful, tragicomic irony of the situation, the detail Diane had so carelessly overlooked. Everything was in my name. Every contract, every deposit, every single financial commitment. Chloe, with her characteristic charm, had insisted on it. "You're so much better with the planning and the numbers, babe," she'd said, fluttering her eyelashes. We had a verbal agreement, confirmed over countless text messages, that she would pay me back her half of the expenses from the gift money we received after the wedding. Her financial contribution was, at that point, effectively zero. By midnight, I had become a whirlwind of logistical destruction. The venue, the caterer, the photographer, the florist, the DJ, I called them all. One by one, I dismantled the wedding we'd spent a year building. I was calm, polite, and firm. Then, I logged into the airline's website. Our honeymoon tickets to Greece, a dream trip we'd been planning for months, were now a solo ticket to Bali, a place I had always secretly wanted to explore on my own. I screenshotted every cancellation policy, every email confirmation, and every text message exchange with Chloe about the payment plan. The evidence was irrefutable. The vendors, to my surprise, were incredibly understanding. 3 weeks out? "Man, you wouldn't believe how often this happens," the venue manager told me, a weary sympathy in his voice. I managed to recoup between 60 and 70% of the deposits, a substantial sum that landed back in my bank account. The chaos I had unleashed was contained, for now, to my side of the equation. The next morning, the inevitable storm broke. My phone rang, and Chloe's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring twice before answering, taking a deep breath to steady myself. Her voice was thick with tears. "My mom told me you two talked last night," she sobbed. "Babe, whatever she said to you, please, just ignore her. You know how she gets. She's crazy sometimes." I sat on the edge of my bed, looking at the single suitcase I had already packed. "Actually, Chloe," I said, my voice devoid of the warmth she was used to, she made some incredibly compelling points. There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line. "What? Are you being serious right now?" "Dead serious," I replied. "The wedding's off." I could hear her sharp intake of breath, the sound of her world tilting on its axis. "You're joking," she whispered. "This has to be a joke. We have 150 people coming." Had I corrected gently? Had 150 people coming? The silence that followed was deafening, heavy with the weight of unspoken accusations. "You already canceled everything," she finally stammered, her voice a mixture of horror and disbelief. "You did all that this morning without even talking to me? Your mother made it very clear that her terms were non-negotiable, I stated flatly. I'm simply following her direct orders. I'm coming over, she said, her voice shifting from wounded to furious. Don't you dare go anywhere. 20 minutes later, she was at my door, but she wasn't alone. Diane stood right behind her, a triumphant smirk plastered on her face. Her victory, it seemed, was complete. That smirk vanished the moment she saw my suitcase standing by the door. Going somewhere? Chloe asked, her eyes wide and fearful. Bali, I said, my voice light, almost cheerful. Flight leaves tomorrow morning. I decided to use the honeymoon tickets. Her face crumpled. Those were our tickets. I corrected her again. Now, they're just mine. But don't worry, I'll be sure to send you both a postcard. It was Diane who stepped forward then, her mask of civility cracking. This is absolutely ridiculous. You can't just what? I interrupted, my polite demeanor finally fraying at the edges. Follow your explicit instructions? You gave me an ultimatum, Diane. You said, call it off or I'll make your life hell. So I called it off. We're good, aren't we? Chloe spun around to face her mother, her face a mask of confusion and betrayal. What did you do? She demanded. I was protecting you. Diane insisted, her voice shrill. He's not good enough for you. He was never going to give you the life you deserve. That was my decision to make. Chloe screamed back, tears streaming down her face. Well, now the decision has been made for you, I interjected, stepping between them. And here's the part you both need to understand. Your mother threatened to destroy my career with fabricated criminal charges if I didn't end our engagement. So I did exactly what she asked. But I'm keeping the deposits. You can't do that, Chloe shrieked. I paid for half of that. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, you didn't. You were going to pay me back from the gift money. Remember? I held up the screen, displaying a long thread of her own text messages. Just put it on your card for now, babe. I'll pay you back after we get the wedding gifts, I promise. The color drained from Chloe's face as she read her own words. Diane, on the other hand, went crimson with rage. You conniving little I cut her off, holding up a hand. Careful, Diane. My brother is a lawyer. If any mysterious DUIs or unsubstantiated rumors about my character suddenly start popping up, we will sue you for defamation and malicious prosecution so fast your head will spin. He's already got the paperwork drafted, just in case. That finally shut them up. They left my apartment amidst a flurry of screaming and accusations, a toxic storm I was all too happy to be walking away from. Chloe tried everything. The tears, the anger, the bargaining, the whispered promises that she would handle her mother. But the simple, brutal truth was this. In her moment of crisis, she hadn't come to me to form a united front. She had brought her mother, the architect of our destruction, as backup. In that moment, I knew with absolute certainty that I had made the right choice. My first update comes to you from a beach bar in Seminyak, where the sunset is painting the sky in shades of orange and purple so vivid they look fake. A half-empty cocktail sweats on the table in front of me, and for the first time in weeks, the knot in my stomach has finally dissolved. The chaos back home, however, is apparently just getting started. The deposit refunds finally cleared my account yesterday, a bittersweet influx of cash. After the cancellation fees, I recovered $10,500 from the original $16,000 in deposits. It's a hefty sum that has now been officially designated as my solo adventure and personal liberation fund. My phone, for a while, was a constant source of buzzing anxiety. 67 missed calls from Chloe, 31 from Diane. I meticulously documented each one for my brother before blocking both their numbers. The real entertainment, however, came courtesy of my cousin Jenna, who happened to witness a spectacular public meltdown at a local coffee shop. She sent me a play-by-play text that was better than any television show. Apparently, Diane was there with her circle of friends, weaving a narrative that painted me as the villain. Can you believe he just canceled everything? Diane lamented over her latte. 3 weeks before the wedding, he just up and left. One of her friends looked confused. Wait, I thought Chloe was the one who called it off. Diane's lie was seamless. No, he did. He got cold feet. I guess he couldn't handle the pressure. That doesn't sound like him at all. Another friend chimed in. Wasn't he the one who was always so excited about everything? And then, like a scene from a movie, Chloe stormed into the coffee shop, her face thunderous. Mom, we need to talk. Now. Diane tried to placate her. Sweetie, not here. We're with friends. But Chloe was past the point of caring about appearances. You told people I called it off? She hissed, her voice loud enough to silence the entire cafe. You lied to everyone after what you did. Diane's friends were now looking at her with a mixture of curiosity and alarm. What did you do, Diane? One of them asked. Chloe didn't give her mother a chance to answer. She threatened my fiancé, she announced to the stunned room. She told him to call off our wedding or she would ruin his life. According to Jenna, you could have heard a pin drop. The friends stared at Diane, their mouths agape. Diane, you didn't, one whispered. I was just trying to protect her. Diane stammered, her face turning beet red. Protect me? Chloe's voice cracked. You cost me $10,000 in lost deposits. Money we'll never see again. That's not my fault. It's literally 100% your fault. Diane, utterly humiliated, stormed out of the coffee shop, leaving Chloe to break down in tears. Her friends rushed to comfort her, but Jenna overheard one of them whisper to another, her mom has always been controlling, but this is a whole new level of insane. And me? I was learning how to surf. The instructor, a laid-back local named Wayan, told me I was a natural. Who knew dodging a metaphorical bullet could be so good for your balance? I extended my trip by another week. The peace and quiet of Bali were a much-needed antidote to the poison being spewed back home. The drama, however, had followed me across the ocean. Diane, it seems, is not one to admit defeat. Her next move was to try and fix things by calling the wedding venue and pretending to be me, attempting to reverse the cancellation. I was woken up at 3 a.m, Bali time, by a call from an unknown number. It was Mr. Thompson, the venue manager. Just calling to confirm that you want to reinstate your booking for the original date, he said. I was groggy and confused. What? No, absolutely not. The cancellation is final. Oh, that's odd, he replied. Because a person claiming to be you just called us to uncancel it. Do they happen to sound like a 55-year-old woman with a voice that could curdle milk? That would be the mother of my ex-fiancée, I said with a sigh. Please, document this call and do not accept any changes unless you receive written confirmation directly from my email. Already on it, he assured me. And just so you know, we've already rebooked your date for a corporate event. So even if you wanted it back, it's gone. Having failed to manipulate the vendors, Diane escalated her campaign of chaos. She went to my parents' house. My mom called me later that day, her voice a mixture of anger and concern. Diane was just here, she said. She told us you're having a complete mental breakdown and that you need an intervention. I laughed. Mom, I'm literally sending you pictures from an Indonesian cooking class as we speak. I am the opposite of broken down. The one with the cute instructor? She asked, momentarily sidetracked. Mom, focus. Right? She also told us that you stole all of Chloe's money. Did you tell her about the texts? The proof. I showed her the screenshots you sent us, my mom confirmed. She claimed they were fake. Your father then very calmly told her to get off our property before he called the police. But the most insane part of it all came directly from Chloe. After weeks of silence, she sent me a novel-length text message. She was sorry about her mom. She had no idea the threats were that serious. She still loved me and wanted to work things out. And then came the part that made my decision feel more right than ever. She thought I had overreacted. She said I should have come to her first, that we could have faced her mother together. As if to prove how out of touch she was, she then mentioned that Jerome, the wealthy ex, had heard about the cancellation and had been checking in on her. Her mother had even invited him over for dinner to cheer her up, an invitation Chloe had accepted to be polite. Jerome had gallantly offered to pay for an entirely new wedding if she would just give him another chance. She claimed she had said no, but then she made her own proposition. Maybe you should come home, she wrote, so we can prove to everyone that our love is stronger than my mom's interference. I read the text 3 times, a mojito in my hand, the sound of the ocean waves crashing in the background. My reply was short and to the point. Your mom wins. You're officially single. Jerome sounds perfect for the both of you. Enjoy. The bartender, a wonderful woman named Maid, was teaching me Indonesian curse words. The timing couldn't have been better. I wasn't going to provide a third update, but the universe had other plans. Diane, fueled by a rage that seemed to have no limits, actually tried to sue me. She filed a case in small claims court for emotional damage and theft of wedding funds. My brother, finding the whole situation utterly hilarious, handled the response while I was still enjoying the last few days of my trip. He just sent me the results. The judge's dismissal, as paraphrased by my brother, was a thing of beauty. There are no grounds for emotional damage when the defendant has provided clear proof that the plaintiff threatened and attempted to blackmail him. There is no theft when all contracts were in the defendant's name, and the plaintiff's own daughter's text messages clearly show an agreement to a payback arrangement that never materialized. Case dismissed. The plaintiff is ordered to pay the defendant's legal fees of $1,500. But the story doesn't end there. Remember Jerome, the white knight in the $400,000 suit? It turns out that while Chloe might have initially said no to his offer of a new wedding, she wasn't saying no to everything else. My buddy Kevin saw them having a cozy dinner together. Another friend spotted them at brunch a few days later. And then, the final nail in the coffin, my barber texted me a photo. It was of Chloe and Jerome in his shop, and she was wearing the engagement ring I had given her. It was a new level of tacky I hadn't thought possible. That's when I decided to get a little petty. I posted a carefully curated album of my Bali photos on social media. The surfing, the cooking class, the mountain sunrise hikes, the sunset dinners. The caption was simple. Sometimes the best thing that can happen is dodging a bullet. Thanks, Diane. My phone rang almost immediately. It was Chloe. How dare you? She seethed. How dare I what? Enjoy my life. You're rubbing it in my face. Rubbing what in exactly? I asked coolly. You seem to be doing just fine with Jerome. We're just friends, she insisted. Really? Friends who wear old engagement rings on dates. That's not. He was just looking at it in the barber shop, she stammered, the lies so flimsy it was pathetic. I sighed. Look, Chloe, be with Jerome. Don't be with Jerome. I genuinely do not care anymore. But we are done. Your mom won. Congratulations to her. She didn't win. I'm miserable, she cried. Then why are you spending all your time with the exact man she handpicked to replace me? Because at least he fights for me. The words were a gut punch, but they were also incredibly revealing. No, Chloe, I said, my voice soft but firm. He waited until you were at your most vulnerable and then swooped in like a predator. I fought for our relationship for 4 years. I just refused to fight your mother, too. There's a profound difference. She hung up. A few minutes later, the phone rang again, this time from her number, but it was Diane's voice that greeted me. You've ruined everything, she shrieked. Diane, how wonderful to hear from you. I said cheerfully. Did you get the bill for my legal fees yet? You little. Careful, I warned. Harassment is a crime. And just so you know, my brother's on the line, recording this call. You're lying, she spat. From the other line, my brother's calm voice cut in. Hello, Mrs. Diane. Please stop calling my client. The click was immensely satisfying. As if the universe wanted to put a cherry on top of this whole surreal experience, my boss called me a few days later. Apparently, handling the final stages of the massive Peterson merger remotely from a beach bar in Bali had impressed the hell out of the partners. I was getting a raise, bumping my salary up to $75,000. Still not Jerome money, but it was a victory that was entirely my own. I finally came home, tanned, rested, and with a renewed sense of purpose. The Jerome situation, predictably, imploded in spectacular fashion. He had never stopped cheating. Chloe caught him red-handed, texting an Instagram model while they were having dinner at the very same restaurant where she and I had our first date. The sheer audacity was almost impressive. She called me at 2 in the morning, sobbing hysterically. You were right, she choked out. You were right about everything. Okay, I said, my voice flat. There was nothing left to say. That's it? Just okay? She asked, her voice filled with disbelief. What do you want me to say, Chloe? I don't know. That you still love me? That we can fix this? I took a deep breath. We can't fix this. Not because of your mom, but because you let her win. Because you showed up at my door with her as your backup instead of standing with me. Because you immediately ran to the man she chose for you. Because you still, to this day, think I overreacted to literal extortion. I see it now, she whispered. I was wrong. Good for you, I said, and I meant it. Growth is important. You're really done with us, she said, the finality dawning on her. I've been done since the moment your mom walked into my apartment. I'll cut her off, she offered desperately. I'll never speak to her again. No, you won't, I told her gently. And you shouldn't have to. She's your mother, and she will always be your mother. And that is a battle I will never have to fight again. Diane, of course, couldn't let it go. She called my office, telling my boss that I was mentally unstable and had abandoned my responsibilities. My boss called me into his office, a look of concern on his face. I laid out the entire story, showing him the threatening texts, the court dismissal, everything. He looked at the evidence, then at me, and a slow smile spread across his face. So, you're telling me you handled a blackmail attempt, canceled a wedding, managed a personal crisis, and successfully closed the Peterson deal from Bali? Yes, sir. HR wants to discuss your promotion track, he said. We need people who can handle pressure. Diane didn't ruin me. She got me promoted. The absolute finale to this saga happened yesterday in the cereal aisle of the grocery store. I saw them before they saw me. Diane and Chloe, locked in a heated argument. Diane spotted me first and began marching over, a fury in her eyes. "You destroyed my family," she shouted, causing everyone around us to stop and stare. "Diane, you did that all by yourself," I said calmly. "I just refuse to be a casualty. My daughter is heartbroken because of you." "Your daughter is standing right there," I pointed out. "Maybe try talking to her instead of at her for once." For the first time, Chloe stepped forward, not behind her mother, but in front of her. "Mom, stop," she said, her voice shaking but firm. "You've done enough. I'm trying to help you." Diane insisted. "Help me? You cost me the only man who ever actually loved me." "Jerome loves you." "Jerome loves himself," Chloe shot back. "He was texting another woman while telling me how much he'd changed. Then we'll find someone better." "No," Chloe said, her voice dropping with a sudden, devastating clarity. "You'll find someone richer. There's a difference." For the first time in her life, I saw Diane rendered completely speechless. Chloe turned to me, her eyes filled with a profound sadness. "I'm sorry," she said, "for everything. You deserved better." "We both did," I replied. She nodded once, turned, and walked away, leaving her mother standing alone next to a display of Captain Crunch. Diane tried one last time. "You'll regret this," she snarled. "She was the best thing that ever happened to your pathetic life." "Maybe," I said, turning to leave. "But at least my life is my own." The wedding would have been tomorrow. Instead, I'm going axe throwing with my friends. No wedging, no Chloe, no Gianni. Just 10 grand in my adventure fund, a promotion at work, some decent surfing skills, and a hell of a story. My brother framed the court dismissal for me. He calls it his favorite case ever. Client wins, he likes to say, by doing literally nothing except saying, "Okay, bye," and going to Bali. Peace at last is a beautiful thing.